This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the principal geologist for Recharge Resources, Mr. Phil Thomas. Phil, it's our first time chatting on air. How are you today, sir?
Gerardo, I'm excellent, and it's a pleasure to be on your program.
It's great to have you on. I must say, when I first started watching the Recharge story, what struck me was a couple of things. One, I'm wildly bullish on lithium. Two, Argentina has become a bastion of stability in South America and is attracting a lot of capital here recently, specifically in the lithium and the copper sectors. And so when I looked at the flagship project, the Salar de Positos project in Argentina, and I saw the work that you were doing, and I started getting into the technology of it, and then you had some early success. And then I looked further down the line and I see that there's also a gold project involved, there's a nickel project, all commodities, which I really like. I thought, well, let's see if we can't get together and have a conversation here about Recharge and the portfolio. And I'd love to start with your background a bit, just for those that may not be familiar.
Sure, I've had about 22 years experience in lithium brines. Obviously, I'm a geologist and qualified with the Australian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy and the Australasian Institute of Geoscientists. So that credits me in lithium brines. So that gives me accreditation for 43101 and ASX JORC. And basically, it's been an interesting sort of 20 odd years in the sense that I started off my career exploring the Rincon, looking at the chemistry, hydrology, and it very quickly became apparent that the key aspect to a successful lithium brine project is your processing technology. So we put 7 boreholes across Rincon, created a pilot plant, solved the problem of the high magnesium in the Rincon, which was about 15 to 1 where we were, and produced lithium carbonate. So from then on, that was kind of 6 years, and then from then on, we moved to Pozuelos. And by the way, Rincon recently just sold for 655 million. I was just 10 years too early.
Which is about 645 million more than your current market cap at Recharge, right?
Yeah, exactly, and about 635 million for what I sold it for in the GFC in 2008.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was interesting. Then we went to Pozuelos, which is a different type of salar. It's actually quite unusual because it actually has an old salar that got uplifted and then poured into the new salar, if I can call it that. So we did the same thing again. We studied the geology, the aquifers. We put 4 drill holes in, pumped it out, came up with a resource, and that was pretty successful. And I was the CEO of Lithium at the time, and we decided to sell out our interest because the lithium price was going south, down back to sort of $4,000 or $5,000 a ton. And so I then moved on into AIS Resources, where I'm currently a director. And at AIS Resources, we basically explored Salinas Grandes, Vilama, Washatok, Azario, Incahuasi. And so we did a lot of exploration work. We drilled some holes in a couple of those salars. We did a lot of trenching. We did a lot of chemical analysis. And so it brings me back to Positos in 2018. AIS Resources drilled it. We got unbelievable flow rates. I've never seen anything like it. And it's not like it was a 1 hour wonder. It went for 10 days. So the water pressure from the aquifers and the flow from the mountains around the volcanoes pushes the brine through the porous bodies, which are mostly halite, which is salt and sand, and clays that have aggregates in them. And you put a well down, and it's going down to 350, 400 meters at Positos. It's not on the surface. So we don't have the problem that Chile has with groundwater, where even Rincon, where you basically all your brines are sitting in the top 100 meters. This is down below a very solid clay layer, and that's what creates the high pressure aquifer. So we drilled that, and of course we had the problem with the high magnesium, but at this time it was 25-1, and we said, okay, it's a dead duck. There's no technology around that's going to manage that. So we moved on, and then I sort of came back, and Recharge asked me to do some work for them, and off we went.
So tell me, what is it about this specific project? And hopefully I'm correct in saying that, to me it appears anyhow, that the focus for the time being, the bulk of the focus is on this project. But what is it about the project that attracted you to work with Recharge to look at it and advance it here?
The flow rate of Positos was the key issue, and the fact they had the biggest tenement, 800 hectares, and so that was kind of the attraction. Plus, I knew the geology quite well, and Gerardo, and so the geology was pretty good from a lithological layer point of view. So what you want is big, wide, flat layers where you've got lots of brine flowing through defined aquifers. What you don't want is small channels of aquifers. So Positos has that characteristic, and that was the key. Also, it's 10 kilometres from the local town. There's plenty of flat land around. There's a small community there that's very pro-mining. So it had all the, what I call modifying factors when we're doing proven and probable resource statements to make the project a success.
I mentioned Lithium and Argentina both being red hot as far as attracting capital. I also mentioned that the market cap is right around 10 million. I think, you're right around like the 12, 13 million mark Canadian, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think is going to be the value driver here moving forward? Because I can tell you that a successful lithium company in today's market is going to command a market cap much, much higher if you're able to achieve the objectives that you're looking to achieve here in the next few quarters. I understand that a 43-101 is being contemplated in advance. What comes after that?
Well, that's the inferred and indicated resource statement, and then we need to do a little bit more drilling to get up to production well size, and probably do 3 or 4 production wells across the salar, and then we'll add the modifying factors and come up with a proven and probable reserve. And then once we've got that, we will go to a kind of a bankable feasibility study rather than a pre-feasibility study or a what I call a geological feasibility study. And that's because the technology of getting your pumping stations in and then getting a plant on the ground is pretty basic. So it's really testing the flow rates and testing the persistence of the grade that you've got so that you can do the maths and calculate what it's worth. But this is a very fast process. You might have seen Gallen Lithium, an Australian company, where they did 2 production holes, some geophysics, and then they came up with a proven and probable reserve statement from their inferred and indicated resource statement. So you don't need a lot of exploration like you do with copper and gold, where you need to drill at 25-metre intervals and make sure the lithology is consistent. So this is a very fast process.
It sounds to me like if you're going to be successful on this specific project, we're going to know relatively quickly, right? Which again is super compelling to me just because of the tiny market cap. I want to thank you for your time, Phil. Is there any other project that you want to touch on during this conversation? By the way, I'm looking forward to having future ones on the rest of the portfolio. I just know that the major catalyst here in the very, very near term is Positos. And so I wanted to focus our conversation on that today.
Yeah. Look, Positos is the jewel in the crown at the moment, and the drilling, the drill holes completed. We've just about finished all the assays. The preliminary ones look very, very positive. So I think it's a green light, and we'll know in the next couple of days.
Looking forward to those results. Looking forward to chatting again. Phil, again, thank you for your time, sir.
A pleasure.
Hey everybody, Gerardo Del Real here. If you're enjoying the content that you just saw, you can let us know in 3 simple steps. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share across your network and on social media. Take care, everybody.